Okay, it's time to talk about one of the most destructive and evil mindset-belief combos in history, manifest destiny. Okay, first, we need to know what this was. Manifest destiny was the belief that the United States was morally and divinely destined to expand across North America from sea to shining sea. So not only was westward expansion across the continent not just acceptable, it was righteous and inevitable. Americans were on a mission to spread their superior institutions, culture, and people across the continent, and they believed that God Himself had ordained that they do so. Okay, now why does any of this matter? Why should we care about understanding manifest destiny? Well, manifest destiny was the ideology that drove the massive taking of land from Mexico that created our modern southwestern states. It was the mindset behind the United States genocidal war against Native Americans, the systematic destruction of their societies and their cultures, and the immense suffering that this caused. To understand manifest destiny is to understand how we got to where we are today. Okay, let's get into it. Where did this idea come from? Well, like many awful ideas throughout history, manifest destiny was driven by a combination of factors. First, there was the religious, Protestant interpretations of the Bible, particularly the idea of the American nation as the new Israel, really fueled this sense of divine mission. John Winthrop's sermon, A Model of Christian Charity, which likened the Massachusetts Bay Colony to biblical Israel, was still widely read in the 19th century and influential in shaping this mindset. Second, there was the nationalist impulse, a deep pride in the American experiment, its potential, and its achievements. Writers like George Bancroft wrote histories of the United States that emphasized the exceptional character of the nation and its destiny for greatness. Third, there were the economic motivations, land, natural resources, and the quest for wealth played a huge role. The vast territories to the west were seen as ripe for the taking and for the building of new economic opportunities. And fourth, there were racial ideas. Underlying all of this was the assumption that European American civilization was racially superior to the so-called savagery of Native American tribes. This belief in white supremacy provided a terrible justification for dispossessing and even eradicating Native peoples. Okay, now once we have this belief in manifest destiny, how did it manifest itself? What were the consequences of this mindset? Well, it manifested itself in all kinds of awful ways. First, there were the Indian removal policies of the 1830s, which forcibly relocated thousands of Native Americans from their ancestral lands to designated reservations. The most infamous example was the Trail of Tears, the forced relocation of the Cherokee people that resulted in thousands of deaths. Second, there were wars. The U.S. went to war with various Native American nations, often with the stated aim of civilizing or Christianizing them, but really with the goal of taking their land. The belief in manifest destiny made it easy to demonize Native Americans and to justify their subjugation and removal. Third, there were forced treaties. Through a combination of military force, coercion, and trickery, the U.S. government forced hundreds of Native American tribes to sign away their land rights. The concept of manifest destiny made this dispossession seem not just permissible, but obligatory. Fourth, there was taking land, often by coercion or legal trickery. And fifth, There was the idea that any obstacles to U.S. expansion, including Native Americans, must be removed. Okay, what were the consequences of all this? Well, the consequences were absolutely devastating. There was massive displacement and dispossession of Native American tribes. Their way of life, their cultures, their languages were destroyed, and the death toll, whether through warfare, forced relocations, or the loss of life due to the breakdown of societies and the introduction of diseases, was staggering. Now remember that while we're talking about events that happened in the past, the legacy of this historical injustice continues to echo today in the profound inequality and the disparate treatment of Native Americans. Manifest Destiny set a terrible precedent for treating certain groups of people as obstacles to be removed rather than as human beings with rights and dignity. Okay, click here to keep reviewing for Unit 4, and I'll see you there.